Hello goal achievers, and welcome to my channel Start, Grow, Pivot. My name is S.W.O.T and I'm here to help aspiring and new immigrants to Canada work smarter to achieve their career and business goals. If you're new to this channel, you're in the right place because I talk about lessons from my own journey as a newcomer to Canada and lessons that I have learned from other mentors and skilled immigrants that helped me achieve my career and my business goals here in Canada. So like this video because I know you're about to enjoy the content that we have for you, and subscribe to support the channel. And leave a comment below to let me know what topics that you're interested in learning about my experience as a newcomer to Canada, or how I can help you achieve your career and business goals. Let's get started. So if you have already watched the first video about 5 crucial steps to preparing for your next job interview, this is the part 2 to the Ace Your Job Interview series. First, you prepare for the job interview, and now this is how you make sure that you excel in the job interview. And there are 5 ways to ensure that you impress the interviewers and get moving on to the next round of interviews or the next round in the process. The first way to impress and ace that job interview is to dress to complement the company's dress code. Now, I've heard the term dress for success or dress for the job you want, and I'm taking that saying and flipping it on its head and saying dress to reflect the company's dress code. Now, every company, especially here in Canada, has their own culture, they have their own dress code, and you want to reflect that. If you're applying for a startup, for example, you don't necessarily want to show up in a 3-piece suit. Through your company research, you find out what the company dress code is, because you want to make the interviewers and you want yourself to be as comfortable as possible right from the beginning. And first impressions do matter when they see that you've looked into their dress code and you're reflecting what they expect. So you can also ask the recruiter or the hiring manager if they have a company dress code, and you can also do that research online to find out what the company dress code is. So make sure you strike a balance between your personal style and the company dress code, because you want to be comfortable and true to yourself, and you also want to reflect what the company dress code is. You're showing them that you're already getting to know their culture and you can already see yourself in the company, and that is an important step to make right at the beginning of the interview. The second proven way to ace that job interview is to make a connection early on. Now, one of the things that people fail to realize is that a lot of job interviews and impressions that you make in a job interview is based on emotion. Because people would like to believe that the experience is as objective as possible. Even in a technical interview, even in a panel interview, people connect with people and people remember people that they connect with. And so you want to make that personal connection early on. Arrive on time and there's a little bit of chit chat. You can ask about their weekend and what they did and things like that, and you make that connection early on. You put people at ease, and it eases and it breaks the tension in the room. Now, if you're someone who's uncomfortable with small talk, I'll link in the description below about how to get yourself to have conversations with people, and especially to make connections with people. There are books that I recommend that you read if that is difficult for you. Make sure that you remember that the people that are interviewing you are humans too, and human beings remember the people that they connect with. So strive to make these connections early on in the interview, and make sure in the tell me about yourself question, you use that time really well to really show them who you are as a human being, and you avoid sort of rattling off your resume, and you really connect with the interviewers on that question. The third proven way to ace your job interview is to storytell. Be a master storyteller and use keywords and highlights from the job description. And in my video on how to prepare to ace your job interview, I talk about the importance of really dissecting that job description and job posting. You want to know that inside and out, and you want to be able to tell your stories using words in the job description about the day-to-day tasks, about the qualifications, because that is what the hiring manager is usually looking for. The hot tip about job descriptions is that they can sometimes be misleading as to what the hiring manager is looking for. And here's where questions come in, and I have another video about questions to ask in a job interview. A great way to develop your storytelling ability is to take a sales pitch class or a copywriting class and learn to really be that master storyteller. Because when you're telling a story and you're using the SPAR methodology, your story should have a beginning and a middle and an end, and your story should have some air of mystery and some interest to pull the listener in and to get them enamored in your ability to craft a story. Communication is a top skill that is highly sought after here in Canada, and your ability to tell a story in your interview really can sell yourself and sell your skills and qualifications, and in a memorable way that the interviewers will remember you and know that you are really good at communicating and that you would be great for the role because of the stories that you tell. And because the stories you tell are relevant, it shows who you are, it shows the skill sets that you're looking for, it mentions keywords in the job description, and it really shows that you've done your research and that you have really understood what the job entails. Because your number one job in a job interview and a number one way to impress the recruiter or the hiring manager is to show a true understanding of what they need and that you are the person with the qualifications and the skill sets to deliver what it is that they are looking for. So if you need help sharpening your storytelling abilities and making sure that you impress the interviewer, sign up for one of our mock interview prep sessions. I'll link to the booking session description below, and book some time with me to have your mock interview. The fourth way to ensure that you ace your job interview is to ask questions throughout the interview. Now, in another video, I talk about how to prepare standout questions for the job interviewer, because the questions that you ask the interviewer can be just as important in how you answer the questions that they ask you. I have a blog post on 15 questions to ask during your job interview to impress the hiring manager and recruiter, and I'll put that link in the description below. Now make sure that you find ways to ask questions throughout the interview. In a lot of the interview settings, the interviewer leaves some few minutes interview for you to ask questions, but sometimes that you run out of time and you don't get a chance to ask your well-prepared questions. So try to ask at least one question at the beginning of the interview, one question in the interview, and leave your 2 questions or 3 questions to the end of the interview. Another opportunity, if you run out of time, is when you're sending that follow-up email, you can ask some of the questions that you didn't get to ask in the interview. But make sure that these questions are questions that cannot be easily found on Google, because right now there's so much information out there that you want to ask a question that only the interviewer can answer. You want to make your questions impactful and memorable and thoughtful and thought-provoking, and make sure that you use the time given to you to ask a question that really shows and demonstrates your interest and understanding of the needs of the role and the value that you can bring if you're given the opportunity and given the role. And the 5th way to make sure that you excel during your job interview is to excel in the 6 areas of the interview. I've gone through so many interviews where I have interviewed candidates and interviews that where I have done especially well, and I have identified 6 areas that you need to excel in a job interview. The first area is your personality. An interview is a nerve-wracking experience, and so a lot of people's personality can get swallowed up in nerves and nervousness, and you want to be able to let your personality shine, let your personality come through, and that comes in making connections, that comes in having informational interviews before the interview, and that comes in doing your company research and being confident in yourself, being confident in your abilities. When you're confident and calm and relaxed, and when you've done a mock interview, it'll help you let your personality really shine through, because as much as you're going to be doing a job and delivering value, you're also going to be a co-worker. You're also going to be a manager. You're going to be you're going to be working with other people, and it's important to let your personality shine through in the interview. The second thing is to demonstrate what your strengths are. So if you've watched my video on doing a personal SWOT analysis, or you've watched my video on an elevator pitch, you understand right now the importance of knowing your strengths and being able to speak to your strengths. So that is the second area that you want to shine in a job interview. The third area, you want to demonstrate your qualifications, and you demonstrate your qualifications through your SPAR examples. You demonstrate your qualifications through the questions that you ask. You demonstrate your qualifications in the way you answer questions. Make sure that you bring those qualifications to the forefront. Remember to demonstrate your qualifications, your certifications, your trainings, your lessons learned, just how the skills that you have to really get the job done and get it done better than any other candidate. And that is where you really have to make sure that you're bringing up your qualifications. Fourth area is company knowledge. You want to bring out the company knowledge and weave your knowledge of the company goals, the department goals. You want to bring that into your interview answers. Fifth area is crisis management or problem solving. As you're answering the questions, you want to show where you have solved a problem, where you have managed a crisis, and especially in these COVID times that we're in, crisis management and problem solving are really highly sought after skills. And then when you're telling your stories or you're answering questions, when they talk about, tell me about a problem that you have solved or a problem that you face or a challenge that you overcome, this is one of the most important interview questions, and you need to have that answer dialed, and you need to be able to showcase that you have these problem management and crisis management skills. Now, the sixth area that you want to demonstrate is your strategy, your strategic thinking, or your planning. And you show that you have a plan and that you have a long-term strategy, you're interested in the long term, that you want to stay with a company for the long term, and that you have long-term strategic planning and you have strategic thinking skills. And always important to demonstrate that you're in this role for the long term, and that this is not just something that you are passively taking for the first couple of months just to get your foot in the door. There's certain phrases that you want to avoid when you're interviewing, because you might give off the impression that you're only in the job for a short amount of time and that your eyes are on the next job. And even if that is the case, it's still important to convince and demonstrate to the hiring manager that you're in this job for the long term, and that you have long-term considerations for the job. So make sure that you're interviewing for the jobs that you really want to be in for the long term. So there you have the 5 ways to ace your job interview. So if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to support the channel. Drop me a comment below about what you found helpful and what questions you have about preparing for job interviews. Depending on the role and depending on the industry, there are different tips that I have for job interviews. See you next week. Bye.